But essentially, on the lighting side, what has been done is it's called tunable lighting or circadian lighting that basically follows the natural rhythm of the sun to be able to mimic and have more flow with your cycle or the rhythmic flow of your state. So you have better sleep quality, things of that nature. And when it comes to, guest experience and just for lighting, for instance, that could help minimize jet lag, which I know is a huge thing for travelers. A lot of people that are doing Airbnb, even in hotels as well, traveling, trying to reduce that jet lag is huge, and being able to really recover quickly, right?
Welcome to Live, Let Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let Thrive.
What's up, Myka man?
What up? What up? What episode we on, Stevie Stacks?
9 to the fold.
94. Dang, we 6 from 100, man. We've been rolling 2 strong years, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy, huh?
Crazy.
94. And we got a special guest today for episode 94.
Yeah, we got Mr. Michael Brown from the 3P Theory podcast. Give it up for Mike. Golf clap. Oh, my bad.
What's up, Mike?
How you guys doing? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for hopping on. And we're excited about this show. You're a share economy expert, I hear.
Yeah, I would say that for the most part. Mike and I have gone back for a couple months now. We've kind of chatted offline on a couple things, but definitely learning a lot, and just glad to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because I met Mike actually at a Dallas Airbnb meetup, and he told me what he does. Could you kind of just really tell the listeners how you got involved in the share economy and what you were doing? Because I know you were talking about TaskRabbit, all types of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So, where do I begin? I've actually been here in Dallas for about seven years, originally from the Galveston, Houston area. And my background is actually in engineering. So I graduated from Texas A&M University, did the traditional route where, you start in the corporate realm and things of that nature. I'm still in the corporate realm. Worked for a couple of years as an engineer working on building projects on new construction and energy efficiency and things of that nature. So looking for ways to really add value to, those projects from an efficiency standpoint. So that could be HVAC, could be lighting, could be service hot water, things of that nature. And so in that journey, like most people, after they get out for a while, work for a couple of years. And, for me, I started to get, a little bored, to be honest, even though I was involved in these, other activities, extracurricular organizations, things of that nature. But then also kind of what brought this about is, just getting out of that cycle of living from paycheck to paycheck, right? You hear a lot of that conversation nowadays, especially with, a lot of the student loan debt, so on and so forth. And so really, I was just tired of being broke, to be honest. Like they say, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And so in that journey, I tried to find ways that I could really think outside the box. I was already earning a pretty great income where I was in the corporate realm, but trying to figure out how I can expand upon that. And find ways to really, bring in extra revenue so then I could kind of create what I really wanted to in the future, kind of have that financial freedom. And so with that, started doing some research, found out about TaskRabbit. For those of you who don't know, TaskRabbit is essentially a platform that's, in my words, I would say everything but Uber. You can essentially hire people to do different tasks, whether that be TV mounting, cleaning, things of that nature. People set their own rates. We'll probably get into the details later, but just really getting into that and really just grinding it out in the evening, sometimes after work. I'd get off, 5 or 6 o'clock. I may be working until 10 o'clock at night and mainly on weekends as well. So really doing that. I'm probably not doing as much anymore, just kind of focused on weekends, but really just creating an opportunity for me to be able to build up some capital because eventually I do also want to get into real estate. And so doing that, chopping out student loan debt. I will say that by the end of this year, I will be debt free. No student loans, no car loans, none of that. So
I have a question. How did you do that? Like as far as getting debt free, and then how did you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, in addition to the TaskRabbit, I also did tutoring on the side. So I initially started out with a tutoring company, kind of doing that part time, and then I kind of branched out on my own. And so really just started with, just to kind of really take a step back to, with the whole being broke and things of that nature. I think a lot of that stems around kind of three main things. It's either not making enough money, or you're spending too much, or just money management. And I think those three things could happen in combination for a lot of people, and for me it was all of those things. And so trying to find a way that I could increase my income in a way that also allowed me to have flexibility as well, because initially the first 2 years out of college, I also worked on the weekends in a restaurant to just make some extra income. But as you know, you got to stick to their schedules, all that kind of stuff. So TaskRabbit really allowed me to have that flexibility. I can create my own hours, set my own rates, things of that nature, and really kind of have, and with my entrepreneurial spirit in general, have that opportunity to create a kind of my own little small business, if you will. And I look up 3 years later, after just eating away at that debt, things of that nature. And not to say that it was all work and no play, because, work, in my saying, I always say you work hard, you play hard, and it allows you to really have the freedom that you want to have and that balance, if you will. A lot of people, say, how do you do all that and things of that nature and have a full-time job? Really all stems to just the vision I have for where I want to be in the future. And that's kind of how the podcast was brought about as well, just being able to become more of a thought leader in my industry and grow. So, yeah.
Are you a Dave Ramsey fan, Mike?
I am, and it's funny you mentioned that. I actually went through the course. I think it was like 2 years ago. It was at one community church in Plano. And we actually took that course, I think it was a couple of weeks. And that kind of really helped re-kickstart my motivation and drive for just trying to eat away at the debt and just, get it out the way. Because before I was just kind of playing around with it. I was like, I'll throw a little bit here, a little bit there. Then I'll go and backtrack and spend a lot of money on something expensive I have no business buying. But yeah, it really just allowed me to have more focus, more traction. And then also another piece is surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, right? So how they always say you're the average sum of the 5 people you hang around with. There's a lot of truth to that. I think being around people that are kind of on that same path really helps build that momentum, and you can really scale some of your efforts.
So you're gonna jump on his show and say, "I am debt free."
Oh yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait, man. So,
man, that's what's up, man. I'm still working on them student loans. I got a plan, but I'm working on them. That's
real
good.
quick. Did you use an app like Mint or something like that to help track your financials?
Not Mint. There was another one. It's actually endorsed by Dave Ramsey. I'm trying to remember the name of it now.
Every Dollar or something like that.
Every Dollar. Yeah, I almost said Simple Dollar, but yeah, Every Dollar. I have heard of Mint before, but it's a very similar platform. Allows you to really track, where you're spending the most money. And for me, which I'm sure most people out there that love to eat, it was eating out. So eating out, whether that's for lunch, dinner, things of that nature. So start to scale back on that and look at that. There's actually some other tools as well, but probably not as much of an impact. Bill Shark is another one to help really maximize, different subscriptions that you may already be paying and try to save dollars in that aspect. And that, I think I saved over $1,000 in the first year from what they were able to do. And that's after paying them for those services. So things like that.
What is that? Ghost Shark?
Bill Shark.
Bill Shark. Okay.
So what they do is, you send them some of your information, what bills you have. So they do cell phone, electricity, security, a couple other services. And if you sign up with them, I think they take, it's 20 or 30% of your savings. for the whole term. So say if you're paying, you got Time Warner right now and you're paying, so much a month, and they're able to, get it down, $10 less or even $20 less per month without changing anything in your service, not adding more channels, not giving you extra stuff you don't need. So they can really work with you. And really, for me, it's just a time saver, because as we all know, we can do that exact same thing ourselves, but we're going to be on the phone wasting time, and it's just not worth it. So I'll leave it up to the pros to take care of that, and they do a really good job.
And how much they charge a month for that?
It's not a monthly, so
it's just a percentage.
Yeah, it's just a percentage of your savings. So say if I was going to save $1,000 that whole year from what they did, then they take 20% of that upfront.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And then they do electric bills too, right?
Yeah, electricity as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's this called?
Bill Shark.
Bill Shark. All right. Well,
I think I saw a commercial about it the other day on TV.
Yeah, I think I'm about to switch over to Bill Shark.
All right. Let's dive in real quick on the TaskRabbit thing. It's an app where people do odd jobs or whatever. There's any number of jobs for whatever price that they put out there. What exactly? I mean, you apparently used it to make some money. What kind of things were you doing?
Oh man, at the beginning, I felt like I was doing everything. But they do have a list of services. So anything from TV mounting, you can do cleaning, lawn work, hauling stuff, moving. That's a real big one in the summertime, because people graduating from college, they're moving into a new apartment, all that kind of stuff. Oh man, there's handyman work. So anytime appliances break, stuff like that. So I've done it all, literally. And initially, now thinking back on it, it's like, how did I know how to do all that stuff? And initially I didn't. So there's the YouTube University out there. There's a lot of resources online to help learn how to do certain things, even when it gets down to carpentry and all that kind of stuff as well, because I've helped people build fences. I would say probably my top three are furniture assembly, TV mounting, and probably the handyman stuff. So
nice.
You use YouTube to learn how to do the stuff you didn't know how to do.
Basically.
Dang, man. I love that though. That's a true hustle right there.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. It's like jump out of an airplane and learn how to build a parachute on the way down.
For real.
I like that.
So have you? Because I've been using a lot of. I haven't used TaskRabbit. I've been using Thumbtack. Have you ever done like favors? I've been using Favor as of lately.
Yeah. So I actually started out doing Favor. And so I did that for maybe about 6 months. And I guess, oh man, it was maybe about a year or two ago that it started to get really, really popular, and people started to come on the platform and actually be runners, is what they call them. And the market just got so saturated. So, I went from making, doing, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 sometimes, errands within an hour or an hour and a half, down to like maybe 1 or 2. And really from that, where you make your money is from tips, the way I feel. Because once you factor in gas and all that kind of stuff, you really just, you're just out there kind of sitting around like the taxi cabs there, right? Waiting for someone to bing, so you can go run an errand. But yeah, because at one point, man, I was doing it and I was like, what, I'm about to double dip. And I was over here waiting on the next errand to come in. I was over here, writing up some notes for this other thing while I'm in the car, just sitting there chilling. And I was like, okay, the next one came through. But yeah, I want to get something that was more consistent, more guaranteed, because I feel like the TaskRabbit is more guaranteed in a way. And if you go in there, you'll see all the different providers and everything. But Favor just got to be really saturated, to be honest. They did have some pretty good enhancements towards the end, just on the user side, but yeah, Favor is pretty unique. That's only in Texas, right?
Yeah. See, this is the thing about it, because you're telling me it's saturated. So during on weekends, I can always get a favor like that, right? During the week though, like when I really need somebody, because I had to get a key picked up and from one of my Airbnbs, and he delivered it for me. But during the week, man, it seems like you'll wait 15, 20 minutes. So somebody might want to hop on Favor. You might make the money. Like, I think it's during those like 8 to 5 hours during the week. Ain't nobody on there.
Yeah.
Everybody's working, yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't get nobody to do what I need to do. And I'm like, dang, I was like, man, if I ever take off work again, man, I might have to hop on Favor.
Yeah, no.
That's cool. And so how are you, Myka told me something about you helping people make their Airbnbs more efficient or green. How you doing that?
Oh man, yeah, we actually had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago. So kind of in the research that I do for some of the projects I work on, we evaluate, especially on the multifamily projects or hotels, ways to enhance the occupant experience, right? So that could be through aesthetics, things of that nature. But on the energy efficiency side, we're starting to weave in wellness into that conversation as it relates to the things that impact your health based on the built environment, right? So, how is the actual space impacting you? So whether that be from the lighting, air quality, and things of that nature. And so where I think it can really come into play on the Airbnb side is kind of finding ways to not only measure that, but also be able to show how it impacts those occupants. So, one of the concepts for lighting, for instance, it's called circadian lighting rhythm. And so we all have this natural rhythm or cycle, all animals do. And so where we kind of have this rhythm naturally, as the sun comes up, you get that natural daylight, it wakes you up in the morning, start to decrease that melatonin production, so on and so forth. And as you go throughout the day, even after you have that heavy lunch, or even if you don't have a heavy lunch, that lull that you get around 2 p.m., that's all natural. And then once we start to come into the evening, what's kind of unnatural is, we have all this artificial light, and it's a certain spectrum of light that's not necessarily beneficial to you when you actually need to start to calm down or dial down for the day or for the evening. And that's your more warm tones. So it almost looks like an amber kind of color. And so with that, we're kind of counteracting or going against our own natural rhythm or cycle. And so that's why you hear about a lot of people having sleep issues and things of that nature, especially when it comes to the blue light that comes on your cell phone, things of that nature. And there's been a couple of apps that's been created to help reduce that. But essentially, on the lighting side, what has been done is it's called tunable lighting or circadian lighting that basically follows the natural rhythm of the sun to be able to mimic and have more flow with your cycle or the rhythmic flow of your state. So you have better sleep quality, things of that nature. And when it comes to, guest experience, and just for lighting, for instance, that could help minimize jet lag, which I know is a huge thing for travelers. A lot of people that are doing Airbnb, even in hotels as well, traveling, trying to reduce that jet lag is huge, and being able to really recover quickly, right? The same thing could be said about air quality. So air quality does impact all of our healths in some ways more strongly than others, especially when it comes to people that may have more sensitivity to allergens, asthma, and things of that nature. Those people, can benefit hugely from some of the indoor air quality strategies. So whether that be more filtration and things of that nature outside of your typical, MERV filters that they put in and things of that nature that people don't usually, switch out when they should and they get all dirty. But all that has impact on your health. So some of it's more readily seen and some of it's more long-term. So if you're able to implement those strategies in the actual space, then that'll allow you to have better outcomes for people that live in that space.
That's cool, man, because that makes me think automatically. Like sometimes you walk into like a nice hotel or something in the lobby and it just feels good. You don't know why, but I'm sure they have their researchers on it to make it just give that awesome welcome feeling, and the perfect lighting and however they furnish and the smell and all that stuff. And I never even thought about it until now that you told me that. But I'm sure they pay people big bucks to get that feeling for people.
Yeah, no, definitely. there's actually, I believe it's Marriott. They've already started to kind of create this model in a select number of their hotels and rooms. It's called Stay Well. And so not only about, the lighting, air quality, things of nature, also water quality. So, going beyond the Brita filters and things of nature where you have more filtration on your water that you're not only using to consume, but also the water that you use to, make your coffee with and even bathe and shower with as well. So, some of those harmful chemicals, and a lot of times people don't, necessarily look into, some of the impacts that may have, but at its very basic level, the water quality that's more or less approved by the city is really the bare minimum. And there's still a lot of thresholds in terms of contaminants and things of nature that exist in that water that they just don't take care of. So it just allows you to have that extra level of filtration. And, I wouldn't say that you would immediately feel it, but I think over time, after, experiencing that, especially people that have homes and things of that nature, that'll be something that they can start to see how that starts to impact their day. So being able to feel more rested, feel more energized, and that goes a long way, right? In terms of how people are actually being able to be productive and live productive lives.
That makes sense because my wife likes to sleep with a night light. I don't like any light. You know what I'm saying? And I remember back in the day, I used to work midnight shifts, and I blacked out my bedroom, and I just, I didn't let like one shred of light get through. I blacked out all the windows, even the bathroom door. I put like a towel underneath and a towel under the main door when I closed it, and I just had the fan going. I knocked the heck. I got the best sleep of my life. I mean, but if I was in there during the day, it would screw me up because then I would think it's nighttime and I would pass out again. But yeah, I mean, this is really cool. I mean, people talk about a lot of things about, doing stuff for your Airbnb guests and what kind of sofa, what kind of this, that, towels. But I mean, no one talks about, the lighting. That's huge. The lighting and the smell and the quality, the water quality. I mean, wow, this is like next level stuff.
Yeah, I've been thinking about putting some plants in mine, like oxygen, things like that. They say you should have a plant in like your corner of your office, and I was thinking to do that too.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of research based on that in terms of being able to reduce pollutants in the air. And there are certain types of plants that take certain types of pollutants out of the air. So yeah, you can do it up. You can definitely do it up. But yeah.
What about like cannabis sativa?
That'll do something for you too, but
improve the guest experience. I'm wondering.
Could be a little add-on at the end of the put the little check mark if you want that.
So how are you helping people? I mean, like where can they go and if they want like something like this, something to help their Airbnbs out?
Yeah, there's a couple of resources online. So Staywell actually has a product line where they sell the Staywell.
Oh, Staywell. Okay.
They actually have a product line. There are some other ones that you can get in terms of air cleaning devices and purification devices and so on and so forth. On the lighting side, it's a little bit more challenging because, while we do have, the controllable lighting and the colored lighting and things of that nature, with Alexa and some of the Philips Hue and all that, is not quite the same. While you can change the color of the light, that's not necessarily the piece that actually does it. It's actually the frequency of the lighting. There's variations of that, and I would also recommend if people are going to be implementing something like that, is they find a way to actually monitor those levels. So one of the things that I've done, and I haven't actually implemented the air cleaning at my place yet, but I've been trying to do a study over the past couple of months, just tracking indoor air quality in my space and seeing how it varies over time. So it's actually called AWARE, so AIRWARE. And so what it does is it tracks, chemical concentrations, humidity, temperature, CO2, You can actually see the trend data throughout the day. It does it in like 15-minute increments, and see how those levels change throughout the day. And so it's pretty spot on. So it's like, in the morning when I get up, take a shower, blah, 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 you can see that humidity level spikes, so on and so forth, and it tapers off during the day. Same thing with CO2. And then you can see temperature levels and things of that nature, because one of the things that really impacts indoor air quality, especially for some of the older types of buildings and things of that nature, is adequate ventilation. And typically that's through the mechanical system or the HVAC system, or if people open the windows. But if you're in Texas, it's hot in the summertime, more than likely you may not be doing that. But I guess I'll have you guys, maybe answer the question. What do you think was the best time of the year that I had the best indoor air quality? Maybe even this, yeah.
The best time of year?
I know it ain't the summer, because people ain't cleaning out. They ain't replacing them filters up there. I know I haven't. I would probably say the winter. Well, you got the heat, so I would say the winter.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't say the spring, because that's when all the plants are having sex outside, right? So you get all that stuff caught in the filters. I would go with the winter also.
Okay, that's initially what I would have thought as well, to be honest. It's actually when it's hottest outside, and I'll tell you why. So typically, and obviously more advanced, so I think my apartment was probably built in the early to mid 90s, but definitely with some of the newer apartment complexes built in the late 2000s have more sophisticated technology and sensoring. But typically what's done is when the mechanical system or HVAC system runs, it brings in fresh air, right? So when the system is not running, it's not bringing in fresh air. And that is the primary way to really dilute the space so that you have, quote unquote, better air quality in the space. So in the summertime, the HVAC system is on more often, right? So it's cycling more often, it's bringing in more fresh air, as opposed to those colder months, of what they call the shoulder months, where you kind of don't need AC at all. It's running the least. So you're not getting those air changes and fresh cycled air through the space. So that air becomes stagnant, CO2 builds up, so on and so forth. And I saw that pretty starkly during the past winter that we had. And again, it does depend on the person, because you can be the type of person that never opens your windows, or you can be the type of person that has their windows open most of the time, right? That does kind of have a little bit of an impact on it. But it's pretty interesting in terms of those findings. So
that is interesting. One thing that I think would help our listeners would be like, and we get this question a lot, and we see it on the forums and stuff. Sometimes they have guests that do, smoke weed while they're there, or they smoke cigarettes while they're there. They ain't supposed to, but they do. And then they got a turnover, and then they got, next guest coming through real quick. And so what can they do to help their house, recover from that faster?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. So that air purification system, you can almost think of it as the ionization. I don't want to say ionic breeze, because it's not that. I think they actually went bankrupt, if I'm not mistaken, because basically their technology produced ozone, and ozone is bad for you.
Oh,
yeah. So it was cleaning the air, but it was killing them. It was slowly killing the people. But but with the newer technology, it's called bipolar ionization. Essentially, what it does is it takes the natural ions that are found in nature, and it distributes those throughout the space to be able to take those bad particles or those bad pollutants out of the airstream. So that includes odors, bacteria, viruses, all the things that your typical filter may not catch. And so I would say on a small scale for a home, I'm thinking about in a commercial standpoint, on a small scale for a home, you literally could have that whole place cycle through and odorless within like 48 hours pretty easily. And they've actually done this. So when you think about commercial buildings, buildings in general, when they move furniture into the space, it's almost like that new car smell that you have. So that the upholstery and then the car, and you can smell that, and it smells good. It's actually horrible for you. It's carcinogen. It has carcinogens in it as well. But that same kind of, it's called volatile organic chemicals, or VOCs. those are found in most furniture. However, some furniture is worse than others. And so when they bring all that stuff, all those toxins into the space, those are off-gassed, and people breathe that, and that's bad for you. So what that ionization system does is it allows all that to be taken out of the space, including odors like that and other odors that may be in the space. So when you have people that have pets that come over too, same thing with the pets. Excuse me. So it's a really good system to be able to really kind of do the cleaning incognito, so you're not trying to mask the smell with fragrances and things of that nature, because that's also pretty bad for you. All the potpourri and Febreze and stuff, that's horrible. It smells good, but it's horrible.
Spraying it on my duvet covers. I used to anyway. Dang, man. My bad, past guest. Killing your ass.
Man, they would those plugins, man. We'd get to do the turnovers, and they unplugged most of the plugins. They didn't like that stuff.
Are those good for you?
No. So all those are all they're doing is masking with another chemical that's not necessarily good. But with that ionization system, imagine never having this spray fragrance at all, and to have this fresh smell in your space.
I gotta tell Mahogany that, man.
Yeah, growing up, my mom used to spray that big old can of Lysol all over the house. I'd have to leave the house. I couldn't breathe, man. That was nasty to me, but I didn't know it was slowly killing me.
Yeah, I can't take heavy fragrances like that. Like I have to go out for a minute too.
Or like when an older woman gives you a hug and she puts all that perfume on and you smell like that all day. That's
your grandma at church. Oh yeah. Like damn.
I feel a little dizzy,
Hey, I have a question. What was I about to ask you? I was about to ask you. Yeah. So we were talking about masking smells. So, because secondhand smoke, the smell of it, it's just terrible for you. What is the difference? Like, is there health benefits to marijuana, like the scent of marijuana smoke in your Airbnb?
Oh man, I think a lot of people would want to believe that is the case, but I would be honest to say I haven't done enough research to really know whether or not that would have a benefit to you. But I have seen a lot of articles that talk about some of the benefits that it has to certain people and things of that nature. And I'd say test it out. I mean, to be honest, but again, like with anything, right? You want to be able to measure some of those impacts, right? Because the same thing that I mentioned earlier about having a better guest experience. What does that really mean, right? We know we can track that through revenue and so on and so forth, but actually being able to monitor, and in some cases in real time, some of those metrics to be able to make the case. You gotta be able to have that for sure.
I'm really interested in this because I wonder how much air quality affects just people's moods to give you a 5-star review. You know what I'm saying? The mood while they're in the place. And the reason I ask that is because I've noticed the most complaining guests come during the summertime. When it's hot. I don't know if it's the heat or if it's because I've actually gauged this. I was like, man, why do we get, or is it just people, you just have more bookings, more travelers, so you're going to get more complaints. So it's like, I don't know how to gauge it.
Like maybe a numbers game at that point.
Exactly.
I think it's both of those things. Because I happened to work in a section of work the other day. We didn't have AC. And I was ready to kill some of my coworkers. Whereas if I work in a place that is, nice AC, I'm more calm and relaxed. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I don't know, but I mean, you should provide reefer to your guests for sure, Myka.
Yeah, he'll piss you off. I don't know. You working outside the heat, man. You're irritable.
You ain't trying to hear all that. So I had a friend before, an Indian buddy, said that he puts charcoal in each room, and charcoal absorbs odors. Is that true?
Yeah, no, that is true.
Really?
So that's another form. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but carbon filtration is kind of an offshoot of that with the charcoal. So what it does is, the stones or the actual coal or charcoal has these micro, pores, if you will, kind of almost like basalt or whatever, or sorry, pumice, like pumice. So all those pollutants get trapped and they kind of get sequestered in that media, and it can't escape. As opposed to maybe other system where all it's doing is just flushing it and pushing it around in the space, and it's still there, as opposed to actually being able to trap it and it's gone, it's not coming back out, kind of thing. And it really works well with some of those smaller particles like the pollen and so on and so forth. Because as we know, everyone is going to go in and put in HEPA filters in their houses and things of that nature, right? Those get pretty expensive. You got to change those out. I think some of the more active systems work more immediately as well, and they can, last a little bit longer.
Yeah, those HEPAs, man. I still load up on them. Yeah, I'm like, filters expensive as hell.
Yeah.
Like for the AC unit?
Yeah.
The HEPA, like the ones for the HEPA purifiers.
Uh-huh.
Man, my mom used to buy them, and she used to put them all around the house. But like, man, once it was time to get them filters, you'd be cheaper buying the brand new HEPA thing than the damn filter.
Man, so like, let's say someone's doing an Airbnb, and I don't know, like 2-bedroom little condo going on, and they don't got a lot of money for all that stuff. What are some like quick, maybe some little tips that they, it won't cost a lot of money, but it'll go a long way into like keeping the air quality fresh?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, make sure, like Myka mentioned, that those filters are clean, because that's also going to help with airflow, right? So a lot of people don't know is, once they get dirty, that restricts airflow, and so you aren't able to cool the space as much. So then you get into a thermal comfort issue. So people complain about it being too hot, so on and so forth. But also, I think a lot of people may not necessarily think about some of the cleaning products that the cleaners use and things of that nature. So when we talk about kind of limiting some of those VOCs and some of those things, while it does smell nice, there are tons of alternatives out there now that don't have any scent, that are eco-friendly, things of that nature. You could put together a cleaning protocol, which I know every cleaning service is a little different. Some of them may use their own products and so on and so forth. But maybe that could become a niche market within cleaning for Airbnb, is cleaning utilizing some of those products that are more eco-friendly, that aren't so harsh, right? Because I think maybe Myka, you mentioned before that you had somebody that said that they said that you must clean with Clorox bleach or something like that before.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
So things like that. I mean, it goes a long way to just be able to use products that don't have harsh chemicals in general, but still keep the place clean, right? And if I would say, if people have an Airbnb portfolio and they want to give it a try with the air cleaning bipolar ionization active system, I would say try it out, and just keep track of the results and see how it's actually improving the space. Because over time you are going to save money on some of those incense and all that kind of stuff that you may not otherwise.
Yeah, see, I'm interested now. I'm like I was saying, I'm really interested in seeing people's behavior. You know what I mean? If they're happier, because happy guests, 5-star review.
Yeah. Reviews went a long way.
And you had talked about you work on aesthetics of Airbnbs too. How do you do that?
Not aesthetics. I just mentioned, at least in my role in my corporate job, they focus on aesthetics for buildings and things of that nature, as it relates to the whole occupant experience. I mean, I can't really speak too much on aesthetics. I mean, there's a ton of people out there that have had different schemes and things of that nature on how to set up a space. And, they have these people now that do staging from top to bottom for certain spaces. A kind of a rule of thumb, which I'm sure you guys already know, and some of your listeners already know, is, to kind of have a similar theme or flow throughout the space. Because I've seen a lot of people try to, throw a lot of junk in the space and stuff on the walls that don't really make sense and kind of throw the space off whack. And so when you think about some of the vibes that could be putting off for the occupants, that could have an impact as well, right? Especially when it comes, and there's been some research done on this as well in terms of visual acuity or visual stimulation for occupants. and how that impacts your brain waves, whether it be for, thinking more deeply or things of that nature. Maybe you have a dedicated space within your space for that. Not saying you got to have a meditation room, but those could be some aspects you could have as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I definitely notice it if you see a picture of a house that they're selling, it's not staged, and then the same house staged well, you're like, wow, that's a badass house. It really, really does something to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You selling the furniture with this? Yeah, that's that. Straight up.
You've had that question asked before, right?
Oh yeah. I'll definitely sell the furniture, 20% markup.
Well, that's good for them. They don't got to buy it and move it and go to the store and all that stuff. That's perfect. 20%, that's nothing.
So, Mike, have you finally, because I met you at an Airbnb meetup, have you finally hopped on the Airbnb train, or you're still scoping it out?
Oh man, to be honest, yeah, I'm still scoping it out. I think that I may be making some moves in the fall. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. A lot of what you mentioned before about, the Dallas market being really saturated. I've kind of taken that into account and starting to look at some of the other outlying areas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, especially for a lot of people, because as we know, when we talk about the share economy and other ways to kind of hack, your 9 to 5 and find different other side hustles, things of nature, I think in the grand scheme of things, real estate in general, especially with Airbnb, does offer the greatest opportunity for you to really scale your time and efforts, right? So that's one of the things that, starting to not necessarily get out of TaskRabbit, but with that, you're really trading your time for dollars, right? As opposed to really trading, time for time or money for time and things of that nature. And so I think everybody should be striving to get to that level where they're not trading their time for dollars, right? So yeah,
sounds like he has Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki all in one. You see what I'm saying? So he's balanced.
Right. Now, would you go in as a co-host at first just to get your feet wet, or would you gonna try to buy a place first?
I'm gonna try and buy a place first.
Okay, all in right away.
Yeah. I kind of ran the numbers already. I've actually seen a couple of spots that I would want to move on, but I didn't do that at the time. I definitely would want to wait until, not till the market goes down, but at least the renting market. So the summertime is the worst time to really rent. Actually, I'm going to rent a space, not buy. So.
Okay.
So I'm going to rent another apartment and kind of do it that way. Where I'm doing Airbnb out of those apartments and just start to grow organically that way. And I've already got some people on board in terms of a team, in terms of cleaning staff, who's going to stage it, so on and so forth. Really, I just need to pull the trigger, to be honest.
Hey, you might have to hook me up with your staging team.
That is cool, man. But I think you'll have an edge, because from what all you know about making it feel good and making it smell good and aesthetically pleasing, that's because you see the ones. I stay at a lot of Airbnbs, and so you search them, and oh man, the ones that really pop, the ones that are really nicely done, decorated well, and of course they're always booked up and they charge more. It's just like it's all about aesthetics, man. From just looking at it on the computer, but I'm sure when you get there too, and you look at the reviews, people are like, wow, this place is really nice, sparkling clean, all this stuff. And I think you'll have a big advantage. So stay out of the Dallas market, man. You mess up our game over here.
Which markets are you looking
at? So I'm looking at kind of the, I guess, Irving, Arlington area. I'm also looking in the Garland area as well. And I do know about some of the bans and restrictions and things of that nature in Arlington. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the risk and see how that plays out, to be honest.
I like that, man. Take the risk. He has some strong lower intestinal fortitude. He said he had to go over to it.
Yeah. it's a calculated risk, because if you're renting an apartment and then turn it into Airbnb, if it don't work out, hey, you're on the hook for a year's worth of lease, right? Instead of buying a house for $200,000 and making it Airbnb and they shut you down. Then, oh snap!
Yeah.
It's you know what? I might do that, man. Get an arbitrage out in Arlington for this. Football season's about to come up. That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to holler at you, Myka. I told you my situation coming up, so I'm gonna have to holler at you on the next on our what's it called episode? Our Patreon episode.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk all about it. We got a new Patreon set up, and we're gonna talk about Airbnb underground stuff that y'all all love to hear about so much. So check it out.
Yeah, it'll be some good episodes.
We'll leave a link on this show. Oh man. So you do okay. You're all about the hustle, Michael, right? Michael or Mike? Does it matter?
Mike. Yeah, Mike.
Mike. Okay.
Name's on the screen.
All right.
It does say Mike on the screen. Yeah.
So some of these listeners, they might have a little bit of debt. They might have been where you are with student loans and stuff. How would you? They're like, man, this is getting overwhelming. What advice would you give them first? How do they just start getting things better? What could they do?
Oh man, you said one of the key words, to be honest. Just start. It really does take courage, I think, because a lot of people think that there aren't ways to improve their situation, right? Especially once I started doing TaskRabbit and some of this other stuff, I was like, man, for anybody that wants to have a better situation or find additional revenue, even if it's outside of TaskRabbit or Airbnb or Uber or whatever, there are ways, right? So you have to be able to find out what works best for you, what you're good at, and then be able to help and monetize that and grow it and scale it, right? And so I know a lot of people have started to kind of condone, hustle in general and things of that nature. And I think, it is about hustle, because you have to have, that grind mentality, get it done, so on and so forth, being able to do things that other people may not be willing to do, so that you can have a better life later for your family and so on and so forth, and reaching those targets or goals. But I think it really does come down to having kind of a plan or a roadmap, right? Because people can, be doing it just for the money, right? And not necessarily have a target. And that's the easiest way to give up or end up giving up. And when things get tough or, something, sets you back or whatnot. And so really always having something to really pull you forward. I think, just in my life in general, whether that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, I always have some type of, event, some type of targets or goals that I'm trying to hit, every week that's pulling me forward, and have something to look forward to. But, especially for those that are coming out of college, I would say this is probably the best opportunity that you have to really be aggressive, and take risks, to be honest. Within those first 5 to 10 years after you graduate, so on and so forth, or even the people that, may not take the traditional route where they go to school and they just come straight out of high school and start working. A lot of people come from different backgrounds, different situations. So, I understand if you have a family and things of that nature, but, one of the things that, I've heard one of my mentors say before is, if there's somebody that has been in your situation that has done it, then you have no excuse, that it is possible. Right. So understanding that fact, and I think that's also back to the courage part, is understanding that, having the belief that you can do it and it can happen. Right. I think so many people, psych themselves out of what's possible. And you should just get out there and start trying it. So.
Nice. Some good advice right there. Great advice right there. I hope that really helps out some of our listeners out there, us included. Really motivational, man. So you have your own podcast channel, or your own podcast, correct?
I do. Yeah.
What's it called?
3P Theory. So the 3P stands for people, planet, and profit. So it's very similar to, if you've heard of the triple bottom line kind of thing when it comes to sustainability. It's kind of centered around that ideology. It's an opportunity for, people in my industry, that may not be in my industry, to learn about sustainability and different strategies that they can use. And at least right now, it's kind of more focused on commercial buildings and things of that nature. So for architects, engineers, construction, so on and so forth, contractors. But even I'll throw in some more practical stuff that people can do in their everyday lives. We've got somebody coming that's going to be talking about recycling and so on and so forth. So actually, do you guys do recycling for your Airbnbs? Is that a thing?
I do it from my house that I live in. For my Airbnbs, I don't know what they be doing. I don't be over there.
That's a good question, man. Because I've had like a couple, maybe 2 guests ever that have asked, oh, by the way, which one do we put the recycling in? Blah blah blah. I've never requested them to do it, but then I said, oh, in the green bin, you can throw the bottles and stuff in there. But you can recycle in there. But I've only like 1 or 2 ever in like 100 guests have ever asked that.
You know what I've noticed since I've lived in Texas? I've been living in Texas about 6 years. Nobody down here recycles. I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, and they give you a whole recycling kit, like the paper, bottles. Like, I'm serious. Like every Thursday, you sit out, you recycle, and then I think it's every Monday or something you got the trash. But yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think people recycle where the city or the state enforces it, then they'll just naturally do it.
Yeah.
Are you big on recycling, Mike?
I do, and to be honest, when I first started in the whole sustainability, energy efficiency world, I wasn't, walking the walk and talking the talk. But more recently, I started to recycle, so I do everything from paper, plastic, cans, so on and so forth. But for me, I also don't have a lot of waste either, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. But I kind of recycle on my own. They don't pick up recycling. They don't have a special bin here at the apartment complex. I kind of do it on my own. Once it fills up, there's a school down the street. I can't remember the name of it, but they have a recycling bin, and I just toss it in there. So
yeah. Because whenever people come to my house, they ask, "Why you have 2 trash cans?" Like, one's for recycle, man.
Yeah, man. That's really cool. We appreciate you hopping on our show, man. This has been an enlightening show. Go ahead.
I have one more question for you, because you said you do TaskRabbit. What all do you do now? Have you ever done Uber, Turo? Like, where are you now with your share economy, and where do you plan on going?
So I have not done Turo as a host. At least I've used it personally. I love it. I love the platform, by the way. So,
really, how was your experience?
Oh man. So actually, 2 weekends ago, me and my girlfriend just kind of had like a staycation thing, and I rented a Corvette, and we just kind of drove around, had fun that weekend, did a lot of stuff. It was nice, man.
How much did that vet hit you for, if you don't mind me asking?
It was like maybe $150 a day, $150, $160 a day.
It's not bad.
That's against everything Dave Ramsey, but I probably would have dropped it too.
Yeah, it was a little splurge. Just to, celebrate a couple of things we have been working on, and just kind of have a fun weekend.
I think Dave wouldn't have been bad on that one. I mean, because it's better than him buying or leasing a car just to have a flashy car. He just rented it for a week, and there you go.
Your credit card.
You're right.
But he pays it off every month, all right?
Don't matter to Dave. But no, but the reason why I was saying, like, with the Toro thing, because I actually have a subject I was going to talk about it on Patreon, but I'll talk about it here. I was going to say, like, because I just bought a car. I think Turo, the only way to really make it grow, you have to rent out things like Porsches, Corvettes, Lamborghinis, slingshots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't see how some people are making it, because they've got some nice cars too for $40 a day and so on and so forth. I'm like, man, I mean, maybe if you just have an extra car lying around, but when you think about insurance and everything else, I mean, it's pennies in my opinion. And the guy that I actually rented the Corvette from, he had 3 of them, so he rents out 3 of those as a part of his hustle or whatever that he's doing on Turo.
What year were they?
I think it was the one I did was 2018. I think he also had a 2017.
Damn.
So how much they go? Like how much they go for though? Like a 2018 Vet go for what? 60?
Yeah, about 60, 70. Yeah.
So he probably his car note what 4 or 5?
Huh?
His car note was probably about 400 or 500, right?
Oh, no, it's probably more than that.
800.
But if you rent it for 150 a day, 10 days, well, they take 20% though. Turo does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You might just be making penny. Yeah, you gotta. I think that's the route to go. You gotta have like a luxury car, because the reason I was really gonna say Turo can't compete because like right now we got a rental car out there. We got a 2019 Focus outside because my truck's in the shop, but we got the Focus for free because we just used our reward points and just got a free Focus, for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
I mean, for instance, I even used Turo to rent a truck. For one of the nonprofits I work with, to haul some equipment, and we actually used a Turo truck rather than using a U-Haul truck or using a U-Haul pickup truck or a Lowe's or Home Depot truck because when the math worked out, it was actually cheaper doing it that way.
Wow, that might be the lick right there.
Yeah.
Okay, because we had a Turo guy on. I'm just real interested in it. I want to see somebody's P&L.
And one more piece on the luxury vehicles, and I actually had to do a little bit of research and go through a couple of options, but I think where they make their money for the people that are maybe doing traveling and things of that nature is they get you on the miles. So some of those have a mileage cap of 100 miles. I've even seen some of them have a mileage cap of 50 miles that come with rental. Yes. And it makes sense on the luxury vehicles, right? Because they don't want you putting all the wear and tear on their cars and so on and so forth. And so, and the rates actually changed too on how much they charge per mile. So I saw one that was 50 to 60 cents per mile driven over the 50 or the 100. And I saw another one that was like 90 cents per mile, almost $1 per mile over the mileage limit.
Dang, I guess you can. Yeah, okay. I knew there had to be a way to like make some money up in there. Okay. So yeah, it's dropping $1 a mile, man.
Yeah. You'll see some homies pushing their buddy's ride down to the club, right? So they won't be wasting no miles.
Dang, man,
that's a Turo shit. One more question: is global warming real?
Oh man, I knew that one was coming.
He was trying to get off before he had to answer this.
So I say yes, and a lot of the research suggests that it is as well. Now, in terms of the scale or how it impact, future economies and so on and so forth, and the temperature, sea level rise, is all still debatable in my opinion, because I think at the speed that we're doing the research, collecting that data. It's a moving target, right? It's always changing. And so, one of the things, and I was actually talking about this yesterday, because somebody had made a comment that, as we know, according to some of the research, with sea level rise, most of our coastal cities will be underwater, in the next, 50 to 75 years, right? To some degree, especially in the low-lying areas like New Orleans, so on and so forth. But they said, if global warming existed, why would these banks be investing these millions and billions of dollars in all this real estate, like in Miami and all these other coastal cities? And when I thought about it at first, I was like, man, you know what? That's true. But then I thought again, I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, they're really only concerned about the short-term gains, right? So even if they knew that it was going to happen, hundreds of years down the line, they're only incentivized to really care about, the shorter term as it relates to the larger impact. And that's where I feel like a lot of the work that I do on my corporate job comes into play, in helping reducing some of the carbon emissions that impact that. buildings account for over 40% the global carbon emissions. And so whether that relates to the emissions that are used to actually build and construct those facilities, the materials, so on and so forth, or the actual energy consumption, kind of what I do is find ways to really minimize that. Or in some cases, when we talk about net zero buildings that use as much energy as they're producing on site through solar, wind, so on and so forth, really has a huge impact. But to come back and circle around your question, yes, I do believe that is true. So.
Okay, man, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, thanks again, Mike, for hopping on our show. We really appreciate it. Where can folks find you?
Definitely. People can find me. So my website for the podcast is 3ptheory.com.
Is that spelled out or with the number 3?
Oh, so that's the number 3, the letter P, and theory.com.
3ptheory.com. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for all the knowledge you're dropping, and we hope to see you again soon at the next meetup.
Definitely look forward to it. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, man, definitely. I got to get with you about the Instagram stuff. We'll talk.
For sure,
right.
for sure.
Well, this was episode 94 of the Live, Let, Thrive, and pretty good at Myka.
Yeah, he had a pretty good ep. We had our boy Michael Brown on, straight out the DFW, Texas area. But yeah, it's been a good episode. And you can catch us on IG at Live Let Thrive. You can email us liveletthrive@gmail.com. You can call us 469-530-0239. I've been updating all our Patreon, all our YouTube stuff with our new numbers.
Speaking of the Patreon, yeah, we have the Patreon up and running, or it's getting up and running. And so, throw a little bread at us and you get access to all these cool eps that me and Myka do, and we just BS the whole time and really dig in, and a lot of cuss words fly around. So if you like that kind of stuff, go check it out. The Patreon, we'll put a link for it.
Yeah. We don't just BS around. We give out $1 million ideas.
Oh, that too.
That's part. But yeah, this is LLT, and we are out.
Later.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.